So in this video, we are going to talk about how circles touch each other. How circles touch each other. Now, at times, circles can intersect, as we saw in our previous lessons. Circles can intersect, and at times they can touch at a point like the one illustrated over here, and then also sometimes they can also touch each other internally. So the one illustrated over here is the case where the circles are touching externally, and then also we have a case where you have a circle and then you have a bigger circle, and then also a smaller circle. We say that these circles are touching internally. So you realize that the radius of the smaller one, let's say this is the radius of the smaller one, and then the radius of the bigger one. So to be able to get the distance between them, we have to, so let's say this is R1, and then let's say this is R2. So if they touch internally, then it means that to get the distance between them, their centers. So let's say this is center 2, and let's say that this is center C1. So to get the distance between them, we have to subtract their radius. So the magnitude of C1 and then C2 will be equal to, that's R2 minus R1. So to be able to get the magnitude of their center, of the distance between their centers, then you have to basically subtract the radius of the bigger one. You have to subtract the radius of the smaller one from the bigger one. So this is how you get, that's when they touch internally. This is how you go about it. So basically, you use your equation of a radius, and we know that to be R squared is equal to J squared plus F squared minus C, so that's it. And then you can get the radius for the bigger one, and then also you can get the radius for the smaller one, and then also after that you can also get the length. Now, getting the distance between C1 and C, that's the magnitude of C1 and C2, is also very common. You can use the length formula. To derive that. So also let's consider a case in the illustration here, the diagram over here. Now here we have two circles basically touching externally. So here, to get the magnitude or to get the length between their centers, between C1 and C2, that's C1 and C2, it means that we have to add their radius, both radii, you have to add them, because when you add them, you can get the distance between them. You can get the distance between this and then the distance over here. So R1 and then R2, you add them, and then you get the distance between their centers. So that's basically how to find for the center, or how to determine the distance between centers of any circle, when they touch internally and then when they touch externally. So we shall solve example in our